The morning sun was shining bright over the Global Space Research Center when something amazing happened. A silver spaceship, shaped like a giant teardrop, landed softly on the special platform behind the main building. Scientists and workers gathered around, their eyes wide with excitement. After months of planning, the first alien visitor was finally here. Dr. Lisa Martinez, the head scientist at the center, waited nervously by the landing pad. She had been chosen to welcome their special guest from another world. The spaceship's door opened with a soft whoosh sound, and white mist came floating out. Then, slowly, a figure stepped out. The alien visitor looked almost human, but not quite. She was tall and slim, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly in the sunlight. Her eyes were larger than human eyes and sparkled like diamonds. Her hair was long and silver, moving gently in the breeze even though there was no wind. She wore a simple white outfit that looked like it was made from some kind of shiny material. "Welcome to Earth," Dr. Martinez said with a warm smile, walking forward carefully. "I'm Lisa, and I'll be your guide here." The alien woman smiled back, but there was something strange about how she moved her mouth, like she was still learning how to make the right expressions. "Thank you," she said in perfect English, though her voice sounded musical, like she was singing instead of talking. "I'm Zara from the planet Kepler. I'm very excited to learn about your world." Zara had a small device attached to her ear that glowed softly. It was her translator, helping her understand and speak human language. But as they would later discover, this little machine wasn't perfect at understanding everything, especially when it came to certain topics. Dr. Martinez led Zara into the research center. The building was huge and modern, with white walls and lots of glass windows. Scientists in white coats walked through the hallways, carrying tablets and talking quietly about their work. Zara looked around with wonder, her big eyes taking in everything. "This is where we study life," Dr. Martinez explained as they walked. "We research plants, animals, and how living things work. Since you're a scientist from another world, we thought you'd find it interesting." Zara nodded eagerly. "On my planet, we study life too, but it's very different from yours. I'm curious to see how Earth creatures live and grow." They stopped at the first laboratory, where scientists were looking at tiny plants under microscopes. Zara watched with fascination as they explained how plants make their own food from sunlight. On her world, plants got their energy in a completely different way. "Amazing," Zara whispered, leaning over to look through a microscope. "Your plants are so different from ours." As they continued the tour, Dr. Martinez showed Zara different laboratories. There was the Animal Behavior Lab, where they studied how different creatures acted. There was the Ocean Lab, where they researched life under the sea. Zara was like a child in a toy store, excited about everything she saw. But then they came to the Medical Research Wing. This was where scientists studied the human body and how it worked. Dr. Martinez opened the door to reveal a clean, bright laboratory filled with all kinds of equipment. "This is where we research human biology," Dr. Martinez said. "We study how the human body functions, grows, and heals itself." Zara stepped inside, her eyes immediately drawn to various instruments. On the tables, there were microscopes, test tubes, and many other scientific tools. But what caught her attention were some cylindrical objects on one of the research tables. They were different sizes and made of different materials. "What are those?" Zara asked, pointing at the objects with genuine scientific curiosity. Dr. Martinez glanced over and realized they were looking at some medical research equipment. "Oh, those are research tools we use to study human biology," she said simply. "Different sizes for different types of research." Zara's translator device glowed a bit brighter as it tried to process this information, but something was getting lost in translation. The device was having trouble understanding the exact context and purpose of these medical instruments, research tools. Zara repeated slowly, making mental notes. Her scientific training told her to observe everything carefully, but her alien perspective was already starting to create some confusion about what she was seeing. Dr. Martinez continued the tour. not realizing that Zara's translator was giving her some mixed signals about the purpose of various medical equipment. They visited more labs, including the genetics laboratory where scientists studied DNA, and the chemistry lab where they created new medicines. By the end of the day, Zara was full of excitement, but also full of questions. She had seen so many new things, and her scientific mind was already working hard to understand this strange new world. "Your research methods are so different from ours," Zara said as they sat in Dr. Martinez's office. "On my planet, we don't use physical tools like these. We study life using energy patterns and thought connections." Dr. Martinez found this fascinating. "That sounds incredible. I'd love to learn more about your methods too." Zara smiled, but inside her mind, she was already forming theories about what she had observed. Her translator device had given her some interesting interpretations of human scientific equipment, and she was beginning to think that human research involved some very unusual recreational activities. As the sun set over the research center, Zara looked out the window at the beautiful Earth sky. Tomorrow, she would continue her studies and learn even more about human civilization. She had no idea that her scientific observations were about to lead to the biggest misunderstanding in interplanetary research history. The stage was set for a comedy of errors that would soon have scientists on both planets scratching their heads in confusion. The next morning, Zara woke up in her special guest room at the research center. She had spent the night thinking about all the amazing things she had seen. Her scientific mind was buzzing with questions about human research methods. After a quick breakfast of Earth fruits, which tasted completely different from anything on her home planet, she was ready for another day of discovery. Dr. Martinez found her in the cafeteria, carefully examining an apple like it was the most fascinating thing in the universe. "Good morning, Zara. How did you sleep?" "Very well, thank you," Zara replied, still holding the apple. "I was wondering, do all Earth fruits grow in such perfect round shapes?" "On my planet, our food grows in crystal formations." Dr. Martinez chuckled. "Not all fruits are round, but apples usually are. Today, I thought we could visit our fertility research laboratory. It's one of our most advanced facilities." Zara's translator device buzzed softly in her ear. The word fertility was being processed, but something was getting mixed up in the translation. Her device was interpreting it as something related to entertainment and recreational activities. They walked through the clean hallways until they reached a special laboratory with extra security. Dr. Martinez used her keycard to open the door. Inside, the room was filled with the most advanced scientific equipment Zara had ever seen. There were computers with screens showing complex data, microscopes that looked like they belonged in a space movie, and various instruments that hummed quietly as they worked. "This is where we study how humans create new life," Dr. Martinez explained proudly. "It's very important research that helps many families." But Zara's translator was having a field day with this information. It was mixing up the scientific terms with recreational concepts, making everything sound like some kind of elaborate entertainment system. Zara looked around with growing amazement, thinking she had discovered something incredible about human culture. Dr. Rodriguez, the head of the fertility lab, came over to greet them. He was a kind man with gray hair and glasses that were always sliding down his nose. "Welcome, Zara. We're honored to have a scientist from another world visit our facility." "Thank you," Zara said, her eyes wide as she looked around. "Your recreational research is much more advanced than I expected." Dr. Rodriguez looked confused. "Recreational research?" Dr. Martinez quickly stepped in. "I think there might be some translation issues. Zara, Dr. Rodriguez studies human biology and how new humans are created." Zara nodded knowingly, but her translator was making things worse. It was now telling her that humans had very elaborate entertainment rituals related to creating new life, and that these cylindrical objects she saw were part of some complex recreational system. Dr. Rodriguez began showing them around the lab. He explained how they helped people who had trouble having babies, using various medical procedures and equipment. But every time he mentioned a scientific instrument, Zara's translator gave her increasingly wild interpretations. This is our latest centrifuge, Dr. Rodriguez said, pointing to a machine that spun samples very quickly. It helps us separate different components for testing. Zara's translator buzzed. Advanced spinning entertainment device for recreational component separation. Zara pulled out a small device that looked like a transparent tablet and began taking notes. She was writing down everything she observed, but her notes were becoming a strange mix of real science and misunderstood recreational activities. Fascinating, she murmured. Sketching diagrams of the equipment. Humans have developed such sophisticated entertainment systems. The variety of sizes and functions is remarkable. Dr. Martinez watched Zara taking detailed notes and felt proud that their guest was so interested in human science. She had no idea that Zara was actually documenting what she believed was an elaborate human leisure industry. As they continued through the lab, Dr. Rodriguez showed them more equipment. There were incubators that kept samples at the perfect temperature, computers that analyzed genetic information, and various medical instruments used in procedures. Each time, Zara's translator provided increasingly creative misinterpretations. On my planet, Zara said thoughtfully, we don't have such elaborate recreational activities. We create new life through a simple energy exchange between two minds. No physical tools are needed at all. Dr. Rodriguez nodded politely, though he was getting more confused by the minute. That sounds very different from our biological processes. Yes, Zara agreed enthusiastically. Your species has clearly put a lot of creative energy into developing these entertainment systems. The engineering is impressive. Dr. Martinez was starting to sense that something wasn't quite right, but she couldn't put her finger on what it was. Zara seemed genuinely interested and was taking careful scientific notes. But some of her comments didn't make sense. They spent the entire morning in the laboratory, with Dr. Rodriguez patiently explaining various procedures and equipment. Zara listened intently, asking detailed questions that seemed scientific but often missed the mark. Her translator continued to scramble the real meaning of everything she heard. By lunchtime, Zara had filled her tablet with notes and drawings. She was convinced that she had made a groundbreaking discovery about human recreational culture. In her mind, humans had developed the most sophisticated entertainment industry in the galaxy, complete with high-tech equipment and complex procedures. This has been incredibly educational, Zara told Dr. Martinez as they sat down for lunch. I had no idea that human recreational activities were so advanced and scientifically complex. Dr. Martinez smiled, still not understanding the full scope of the misunderstanding. We're glad you find our research interesting. Human biology is quite complex. Oh, it's not just complex, Zara said excitedly. It's revolutionary. Wait until my colleagues back home hear about this. They'll be amazed at how humans have turned recreational activities into such a precise science. As Zara continued eating and planning her research report, she had no idea that she was about to become the first alien scientist to completely misunderstand an entire field of human biology. Her excitement was growing by the minute, and she couldn't wait to share her discoveries with the scientific community. Back on her home planet, the misunderstanding was now fully formed, and it was about to grow much bigger than anyone could have imagined. 3 days had passed since Zara's visit to the fertility laboratory, and she had been working nonstop in her guest room. Her small space looked like a scientific command center, with her glowing tablet displaying complex diagrams, charts, and notes covering every surface. She had even requested additional equipment from her spaceship to help with her research documentation. Dr. Martinez knocked on the door and found Zara surrounded by her work, her silver hair tied back and her diamond-like eyes focused intensely on her tablet. Zara, you've been working for hours. Don't you want to take a break? Oh, Lisa. Zara looked up with excitement sparkling in her eyes. I'm preparing the most important research presentation of my career. My discovery about human recreational science will change how our entire galaxy understands Earth culture. Dr. Martinez felt a small flutter of confusion in her stomach. There was something about the way Zara talked about their research that didn't sound quite right, but she couldn't figure out what was wrong. That sounds wonderful. What exactly are you presenting? Zara's face lit up like a child who had found the best toy in the store. I'm going to share my findings with the Intergalactic Scientific Council tomorrow. They meet virtually every week to discuss new discoveries from different planets. This will be the first detailed report about Earth's advanced recreational technology. Recreational technology, Dr. Martinez asked, tilting her head. Yes, Zara jumped up from her chair, her excitement making her practically bounce. Your species has developed the most sophisticated entertainment systems I've ever encountered. The precision, the variety of equipment, the scientific approach to recreational activities, it's incredible. Dr. Martinez nodded slowly. Though her confusion was growing, she made a mental note to ask Zara more questions later, but right now, her alien friend was clearly too excited to think about anything else. The next evening, Zara set up her communication system in the conference room. The walls came alive with a holographic display showing dozens of alien scientists from different planets. There were beings that looked like walking crystals, others that appeared to be made of flowing water, and some that resembled giant butterflies with multiple eyes. Dr. Martinez watched from the back of the room as Zara began her presentation. The alien scientist looked professional and confident, standing in front of her audience with the poise of someone who had made an important discovery. Fellow scientists, Zara began, her musical voice carrying clearly through the translators to all the different species watching. Today I present groundbreaking research about the planet Earth and its remarkable inhabitants. The alien audience leaned forward with interest. Earth was still new to most of them, and any information about human civilization was considered valuable. Zara activated her first slide, showing detailed diagrams of the medical equipment she had observed, but because of her misunderstanding, her diagrams were labeled with completely wrong descriptions. Humans have developed what I believe to be the most advanced recreational technology in our galaxy, she announced proudly. A crystal-like being from the planet Zirian raised what appeared to be a glowing appendage. Recreational technology? Can you be more specific? Certainly, Zara replied, switching to her next slide. Humans have created an entire scientific field dedicated to recreational activities. They have specialized facilities, trained professionals, and incredibly sophisticated equipment. The level of precision and care they put into their entertainment is unlike anything we've seen. Dr. Martinez, listening from the back, felt her heart start to beat faster. Something was definitely wrong, but she still couldn't understand what Zara was actually talking about. On the holographic display, alien scientists were taking notes rapidly. A butterfly-like creature from Andromeda spoke up. This is fascinating, researcher Zara. Are you saying that humans approach recreational activities with scientific methodology? Exactly. Zara beamed. They have detailed procedures, specialized tools of various sizes and functions, and even maintain strict environmental controls for optimal recreational experiences. It's remarkable how they've turned entertainment into a precise science. The alien audience was amazed. Several scientists began asking questions about whether this recreational technology could be studied and possibly adapted for their own civilizations. Dr. Martinez felt a cold realization washing over her. She was starting to understand that Zara had somehow misunderstood something fundamental about human biology and medical research. But what exactly had gone wrong? The equipment variety is impressive, Zara continued, showing more of her detailed sketches, different sizes, different materials, all designed for specific recreational functions, and the facilities clean, controlled environments with perfect temperature and lighting. Humans have truly mastered the science of entertainment, a water-like being from Europa asked. Have you observed these recreational activities directly? I observed the facilities and equipment extensively, Zara replied. The humans were very generous in showing me their research laboratories and explaining their methods, though I must admit, some of their recreational procedures seem quite complex compared to our simple energy-based entertainment methods. The alien scientists were fascinated and began making plans to visit Earth themselves to study this recreational technology. Some wanted to write research papers about it. Others talked about cultural exchange programs focused on entertainment. Science. Dr. Martinez realized she needed to understand exactly what Zara thought she had discovered. She quietly stepped out of the room and called Dr. Rodriguez at the fertility clinic. Hello. Dr. Rodriguez, this is Lisa. I have a strange question about Zara's visit to your laboratory. Oh yes, interesting visitor, Dr. Rodriguez replied, though, I have to say, some of her questions were quite unusual. She seemed very focused on what she called our recreational equipment. Dr. Martinez felt the pieces starting to fall into place, and her face turned pale. Dr. Rodriguez, I think we might have a very big problem. Back in the conference room, Zara was finishing her presentation to thunderous applause from her alien colleagues. They were praising her thorough research and groundbreaking discoveries about human recreational culture. This research will be published in the Galactic Science Journal, announced the head of the council, a wise-looking being with multiple tentacles. We're scheduling follow-up missions to Earth to study these recreational technologies in detail. Zara glowed with pride as dozens of alien scientists congratulated her on her work. She had no idea that she had just convinced half the galaxy that humans were the recreational technology experts of the universe, or that her misunderstanding was about to create the biggest scientific mix-up in intergalactic history. As the conference ended and the holographic displays faded away, Dr. Martinez stood in the doorway with a look of growing horror on her face. She finally understood what had happened, and she knew they were in for quite a shock when the truth came out. Dr. Martinez barely slept that night. She kept thinking about Zara's presentation and the strange way she had described human medical research. Something was seriously wrong, and she needed to figure out what had happened before things got even more complicated. She had already received 3 messages from other research centers asking about Earth's recreational technology programs. The next morning, she found Zara in the cafeteria, happily eating breakfast and looking at her tablet. The alien scientist was glowing with pride, literally. Her blue skin seemed brighter than usual, which Dr. Martinez had learned was a sign of happiness in Zara's species. Good morning, Lisa, Zara called out cheerfully. I've received so many messages from scientists across the galaxy. Everyone wants to learn more about human recreational science. Some are even planning visits to study your advanced entertainment systems. Dr. Martinez sat down across from Zara, trying to keep her voice calm and friendly. Zara, I'm curious about your presentation yesterday. Could you explain to me exactly what you think you discovered about humans? Of course, Zara's eyes sparkled with excitement. She pulled up her notes on her tablet. Your species has developed the most sophisticated recreational technology I've ever encountered. The scientific approach to entertainment is remarkable. Dr. Martinez felt her stomach tighten. When you say recreational technology, what specifically are you referring to? Zara showed her the tablet, displaying detailed drawings of medical equipment from the fertility laboratory, but her labels and descriptions were completely wrong. She had turned scientific medical instruments into what she believed were elaborate entertainment devices. These instruments here, Zara pointed excitedly. Your species uses them for complex recreational activities. In the precision, the variety of sizes and functions, it's clear that humans have turned entertainment into exact science. Dr. Martinez stared at the drawings and felt her face turn red. She finally understood the full scope of the misunderstanding. Zara had completely misinterpreted the purpose of medical fertility equipment, and her translator had made everything worse by mixing up scientific terms with recreational concepts. Zara, Dr. Martinez said carefully, I think we need to have a very important conversation. Could you come to my office? I need to show you something. Zara agreed happily, thinking that Dr. Martinez wanted to share more information about human recreational science. They walked to the office together, with Zara chattering excitedly about all the research requests she had received from other planets. Once they were alone in the office, Dr. Martinez closed the door and sat down across from Zara. She took a deep breath, knowing that what she was about to say would shock her alien friend. Zara, I need to tell you something very important. Those instruments you saw in Dr. Rodriguez's laboratory, they're not recreational devices. They're medical equipment used to help humans create babies. Zara looked confused. Create babies? But I thought they were for entertainment activities. Dr. Martinez pulled out a basic biology textbook and opened it to a chapter about human reproduction. Let me explain how humans actually create new life. It's very different from your energy-based process. As Dr. Martinez began explaining human biology in simple, scientific terms, Zara's expression slowly changed from confusion to amazement to complete shock. Her translator device was finally getting accurate information, and the truth was nothing like what she had thought. You mean, Zara said slowly, her voice getting higher with each word. Those instruments are used for creating new humans, not for recreational activities? That's exactly right, Dr. Martinez confirmed. The fertility laboratory studies how human reproduction works and helps people who have trouble having babies naturally. Zara stared at the biology book, her large eyes getting even wider. She looked at her tablet full of notes, then back at the book, then at Dr. Martinez. But my translator told me they were recreational devices. I thought humans had developed advanced entertainment technology. Your translator made some mistakes, Dr. Martinez explained gently. Some scientific terms can be confusing, especially when they're translated between very different languages and cultures. Zara put her hands over her face and made a sound that Dr. Martinez had never heard before. It was like a musical groan of embarrassment. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. I presented completely wrong information to the entire Galactic Scientific Council. Dr. Martinez reached over and patted Zara's shoulder. It's okay, mistakes happen, especially when we're learning about new cultures. But it's not okay. Zara looked up with horror in her eyes. I told dozens of alien scientists that humans are recreational technology experts. Some of them are planning research trips to study your entertainment systems. Others want to write papers about it. I've created a galaxy-wide misunderstanding. Dr. Martinez couldn't help but smile a little, despite the seriousness of the situation. Well, when you put it that way, this is quite a big mix-up. Zara stood up and began pacing around the small office, her silver hair flowing behind her as she moved. This is the most embarrassing moment of my scientific career. I'm supposed to be a trained xenobiologist, and I completely misunderstood an entire field of human biology. Zara, please sit down, Dr. Martinez said kindly. Yes, this is a big misunderstanding, but it's not the end of the world. We can fix this. Zara sat back down, looking defeated. How can we possibly fix this? I convinced half the galaxy that humans are entertainment technology specialists. Some planets are probably already planning recreational research programs. Based on my findings, Dr. Martinez opened her laptop and showed Zara some real information about human reproduction and fertility science. We can start by making sure you understand the real science. Then we can work together to correct the information you shared with your colleagues. As Dr. Martinez explained the actual biological processes involved in human reproduction, Zara listened with growing fascination. She was amazed to learn how complex human biology really was, and how different it was from her own species' energy-based reproduction. This is actually much more interesting than what I thought I had discovered. Zara admitted, the real science is incredible. Humans create new life through such a complex biological process. And your medical technology helps when that process needs assistance. Exactly. Dr. Martinez smiled. And now you understand why Dr. Rodriguez was so confused when you kept calling. His medical equipment recreational devices? Zara groaned again, this time with even more embarrassment. Poor Dr. Rodriguez. He must have thought I was completely crazy. He was definitely puzzled. Dr. Martinez laughed, but don't worry, we'll explain everything to him too. As the morning continued, Dr. Martinez helped Zara understand the real science behind human reproduction and fertility. Medicine. The alien scientist was genuinely amazed by how complex and beautiful the actual biological processes were, much more so than her mistaken ideas about recreational technology. But now they faced a much bigger challenge: how to tell the entire galactic scientific community that Zara's groundbreaking presentation about human recreational technology was based on a complete misunderstanding. 2 weeks had passed since the shocking revelation in Dr. Martinez's office. Those 2 weeks had been some of the busiest and most stressful in both scientists' lives. Zara had spent every day learning about real human biology, while Dr. Martinez helped her prepare for what would be the most difficult presentation of her career. During those 2 weeks, the situation had gotten even more complicated. 3 different alien research teams had already requested permission to visit Earth, specifically to study human recreational technology. The Galactic Science Journal had fast-tracked Zara's original paper for publication. And worst of all, the planet Zirian had started developing their own recreational science program based on Zara's findings. "I can't believe this has gotten so out of hand," Zara said, sitting in the same conference room where she had given her disastrous presentation. Today, she would have to face the same audience and admit her mistake. Dr. Martinez sat beside her, offering moral support. Over the past 2 weeks, they had become close friends, bonded by their shared mission to fix this intergalactic mix-up. "You can do this, Zara. Everyone makes mistakes, even scientists. What matters is how we correct them." Dr. Rodriguez had also joined them for the correction presentation. He had been surprisingly good-humored about the whole situation. Once he understood what had happened, I have to admit, he had told them earlier, in 30 years of medical research, "I've never had my work mistaken for recreational technology. It's actually quite amusing now that I know what happened." The holographic displays activated, and once again, dozens of alien scientists from across the galaxy appeared on the walls around them. Zara could see the excited faces of beings who were expecting to hear more groundbreaking discoveries about human recreational science. Her stomach felt like it was full of butterflies, or whatever the equivalent feeling was for her species. "Fellow scientists," Zara began, her musical voice not quite as confident as it had been 2 weeks earlier. "I have called this emergency session to discuss my previous presentation about Earth and human civilization." The crystal being from Zirian immediately spoke up. "Researcher Zara, perfect timing. We've been developing our own recreational science program based on your research. When can we visit Earth to observe these entertainment technologies directly?" Zara felt her blue skin turn a slightly darker shade, the alien equivalent of blushing. "That's actually what I need to discuss with all of you today. I'm afraid I have some very important corrections to make about my previous findings." The alien audience leaned forward with curiosity. A butterfly-like creature from Andromeda asked, "Corrections? Have you discovered even more advanced recreational technologies?" "No," Zara said, taking a deep breath. "Actually, I discovered that I was completely wrong about everything I presented 2 weeks ago." The silence that followed was so complete that you could have heard a pin drop in any of the dozens of different spaceships and research stations connected to the call. Dr. Martinez gave Zara an encouraging nod. Zara activated her new presentation slides, which showed the real science behind human reproduction and fertility medicine. "The equipment and procedures I observed were not recreational technology," Zara explained, her voice getting stronger as she continued. "They were medical instruments used in the scientific study of human reproduction, how humans create new life." She went on to explain the real purpose of Dr. Rodriguez's laboratory, the actual function of the medical equipment, and the true nature of fertility research. As she spoke, she could see the expressions on her colleagues' faces changing, from confusion to understanding. "So you're saying," the water-like being from Europa said slowly, "that humans don't have advanced recreational technology, but they do have advanced reproductive medicine?" "Exactly," Zara confirmed, "and the real science is actually much more fascinating than what I mistakenly reported. Human reproduction is incredibly complex, involving intricate biological processes that their medical science has learned to assist when necessary." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward to join the presentation as a human fertility specialist. "I can confirm that our work is focused entirely on helping people have healthy babies. We use scientific methods to understand and assist natural reproductive processes." The alien scientists began asking questions about the real science. They were genuinely interested in learning about human reproductive biology, and many admitted that the actual scientific facts were more impressive than the recreational technology they had thought they were hearing about. This is embarrassing for me as a scientist, Sarah continued, but it's also been an incredible learning experience. I made assumptions based on incomplete information and faulty translations. This mistake has taught me valuable lessons about the importance of thorough research and clear communication when studying other cultures. The head of the Galactic Scientific Council, the wise being with multiple tentacles, spoke up. Researcher Zara, your honesty in correcting this error is commendable. Mistakes are part of the scientific process, and learning from them makes us better researchers. Thank you, Zara said gratefully. Dr. Martinez and I have prepared a new research paper that accurately describes human reproductive science. We're also proposing new protocols for interspecies research to prevent similar misunderstandings in the future. Dr. Martinez stood up. To address the alien audience, we're also excited to announce that this experience has led to a new collaboration between Earth and Kepler. Zara will be staying here for 6 more months to conduct proper research about human biology, and I'll be visiting her planet next year to learn about Vexian reproductive science. The presentation continued for another hour, with Zara and Dr. Martinez explaining the real science and answering questions from fascinated alien colleagues. By the end, the galactic scientific community was even more interested in Earth than they had been before. But now for all the right reasons. The crystal beam from Zirion announced that they would be canceling their recreational science program and instead starting a reproductive biology research initiative. Several other planets made similar announcements. As the conference call ended, Zara slumped back in her chair with relief. I can't believe we actually managed to fix this mess. Dr. Martinez laughed. Well, we turned a major scientific embarrassment into a successful research collaboration. I'd say that's pretty good problem solving. Dr. Rodriguez grinned. Plus, I now have the most unusual story to tell at medical conferences. That time an alien scientist thought my fertility lab was a recreational technology center. Over the following months, Zara's corrected research became a model for how to conduct proper interspecies scientific studies. Her original mistake, and more importantly, her honest correction of it, led to new standards for cross-cultural research throughout the galaxy. The friendship between Zara and Dr. Martinez continued to grow as they worked together on legitimate research projects. Zara learned to appreciate the complexity and beauty of human biology, while Dr. Martinez was fascinated by the energy-based life processes of Zara's species. And whenever young scientists from any planet felt embarrassed about making mistakes in their research, their professors would tell them the story of the alien scientist who thought human medical equipment was recreational technology, and how her honest correction of that mistake led to some of the most important interspecies research collaborations in galactic history. The moral of the story was clear in science. Making mistakes isn't the problem, not learning from them is.